My name is Taylor, Brian's on camera, the thumb is on holiday, and that's Herbert. Herbert, wave! Herbie's looking for the scorpion den for us. That's what we're after. And well, I want to climb this. This looks like an amazing jungle gym. I reckon if my parents could have had one of these in our garden, this probably would have kept me busy for quite some time. Don't you think it's quite wonderful? Maybe even Steph's son. Oh, look, then there's lizards and all sorts of crazy things. And cretins all over here. Oh, Kirsty says she's been up this tree. Oh, have you seen Kirsty up the tree?
No.
Do you believe it?
No.
I don't believe it. With Kirsty, you'll have to do it again for us, all over here. So, so now, as you know, I'm not spoiling the show. We're not showing you any insects and creatures just yet because we're going to save that for the walk, of course. So we're going to do little circles round and round here. And probably when we start the show, we'll come back to this beautiful fallen tree. So let's go for a little walk and then we shall be back. Brian, where do you want to walk today? Well, it's sunny all of a sudden. It was nice and cloudy and it was so cool. And well, maybe my legs will catch a tan and Brent will stop telling me how pasty and pale I am. But I like to use sunscreen. Quite happy with that. Now, we have a surprise for you. I don't know if you remember, maybe it was about a week ago, I told a story about a spitting cobra that we saw on a walk. And well, I mentioned that I was with a guide by the name of Evia, or you can call him FW if you like, he's used to that. And he's going to be joining us for, I'm not sure how long is Evia here for, Kirsty? I've forgotten. But I think he's here over Christmas with us, which is quite exciting. Oh! I forgot that I even have my Christmas hat on in the build-up to Christmas Day. So what I'll be doing is I'm going to be wearing my Christmas hat every time I do the pre-show. Until then, otherwise you're just going to have to wait for Christmas Day. There may be a couple of additions, maybe some reindeer ears, a reindeer nose. I don't know, maybe we can make a reindeer nose out of something. And yes, so you all have to be very kind to Evia this afternoon. And he's a wonderful person. And he's got lots of stories as well. He's been guiding for quite some time too. And he likes to walk. Walking is one of his favorite things. So you better ask him about his walking stories. I'm sure he's got some incredible tales to tell you all. Now, remember, you can subscribe to the SafariLIVE page on YouTube, and if you click the little bell as well, you get a notification every single time you go live. I think it's quite wonderful to be able to have something like that, so you don't have to stress and remember and set 1,000 alarms like I do. I think that's 2 minutes left of the pre-drive walk. What are we going to find? Well, we can already hear the kingfishers shouting at us. Have to go all the way down. Not bad. I'll have to work on and I need a skateboard or something to go on, and then Brian can pull me along and it'll look a lot more smoother. Right. Whew. Sorry, I had an insect fly almost up my nose, but luckily I saved it. Oh, watch out, there's an obstacle course here, Brian. Gotta step over things like that. You have to do the same thing. Big steps, Brian. Watching Brian, making sure he only does big steps. Right. I'm going to say goodbye to you all, and I think we're going to go across to James shortly, so enjoy, and I'll see you back in a moment. I don't know why I did the guns. I'll just pretend.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon. It's another beautiful, balmy day in Africa. This is SafariLIVE. Ready. those are some impala over there, and it's a sort of balmy 82 degrees Fahrenheit, 28 degrees Celsius here, gentle southweaster blowing from the unsurprisingly southeast of the reserve. My name is James Hendry. David is on camera. Hello, David.
Hello, John.
Wonderful to have you with me. Out on vehicle today, making his, well, it's not quite his debut, but almost. We have Evier de Klerk, and he's being ably assisted by Willem Durenbraak. They are going to look for a lion with any luck. And then you've seen Taylor perhaps on the pre-show prancing about in a Christmas hat. I'm going to have a stern word with her about that when I get home. She is being filmed by the giraffe-like figure of Brian Joubert. Let us take another look at those impala, and then we're going to head down towards the south of the reserve, and with any luck pick up some tracks of Karula the Great Queen, Tingana her consort, and perhaps Hothana and Shongile their offspring. They've been in the throes, in case you've had your head in the sand or you've been living in a vacuum. The two of them have been trying to make another two Hosanna and Shongiles. Very unusually, at around 10 months old the cubs are, and yet at least Karula and Tingana are still in the process of mating, already in the process of mating again. So that story has yet to play out. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. They were found together on Little Gowrie, which is a reserve just to the where we operate here this morning, not by us obviously, and they seem to have stopped mating, but we're not sure exactly what the story is there, so maybe they'll come north and we'll be able to figure it out for ourselves. Please talk to us during the course of the next 3 hours. Hashtag SafariLive is the best way to do it on Twitter. Otherwise you can send us an email and it would be lovely to hear from you. Any questions you have, any comments at all. Alrighty, let us continue. It's a most lovely afternoon. A bit owl later on, but the sky is the most gorgeous colour and the clouds are just interspersed at the right distances, and so they all look puffy and rather summer friendly, I feel. See what else we can find down here. Taylor apparently is going to go and look for the scorpion that Brent found yesterday, or I think Herbert found it, and then he found it again this morning, and they're going to go and have a look at it again this afternoon. I'm going to turn the Game Drive channel down. All the landowners are here for their Christmas holidays, and that means the Game Drive channel is a little bit like listening to... it's like listening to the old school sort of stock market floor, where everybody is trading at a great volume. Right, unsurprisingly, Taylor McCurdy has already found members of the arachnid order.
Good afternoon and welcome again. Of course, we're out here walking around in the African wilderness, and as you can see, we've found the scorpion den. Now, my name is Taylor, and on camera with me this afternoon, we've got Brian, and of course, I think the thumb is on vacation. Is that correct?
He doesn't enjoy the bushwalk.
Doesn't like the bushwalks. I suppose it is hard if you didn't have good working legs out here. It might be a little bit tough, and of course, the thumb is a thumb. So he's just having a holiday. He's actually with Brent this afternoon enjoying a day at the pool. Now, as you just saw, we managed to find the scorpion. Let's have another look. And if you are worried about if we're out here by ourselves, don't worry. Herbert, the protector, is out and about and just keeping us safe, of course. Now, you can see the scorpion has taken refuge under some grass. And I think it's quite exciting that we're having a regular sighting of this beautiful lady and all her tiny little babies. I must tell you, this is the first time I have ever seen a scorpion with babies on her back. Isn't that incredible? Now, remember, we are on a live safari, and if you'd like to interact with myself, James, or Evia, you're welcome to hashtag SafariLive on Twitter, or you can send us an email at questions@wildearth.tv. Now, I know we've been chatting a lot about the scorpions lately, especially Brent and James, as they've been here prior, but something incredible about these creatures is that they have been around for a very long time. I was reading today that the scorpions sort of came from a scorpion-like creature that lived in the ocean about 430 million years ago. And when they eventually adapted and came onto land, well, they haven't really changed since, haven't changed much since then. I think that was quite interesting to see. Now, I wish I'd brought along a picture of what their sort of ancestors looked like. It was really quite interesting. Something almost like a horseshoe crab. But of course, this is not related to crabs and crayfish. It is in the arachnid family. But I think they're quite lovely. And I think what I'm going to do is, she's a bit exposed to the sun. I'm going to cover her up a little bit, try and provide some shade. Now, as we look at these tiny little babies moving around on her back, Michael, you were wondering, I'm actually going to close it up because I don't want to disturb her too much with all these little ones. We'll just do that. Now, Michael, you were wondering, how long will those babies stay on her back? You know what, I've read so many different books that say a variety of different things. I've tried to check up on the internet, and well, it seems to be that the youngsters stay with their mother until they have their first molt, whether it's between 10 and 20 days or 14 days. I can't find an exact answer. It's always like this. All the books have varying information, so I'm going to just stick with until their first molt. Then they will crawl off, and off they go. And well, then they live like adults. They know how to hunt. That instinct kicks in. They know how to hide themselves and be able to create burrows or live under the bark like we've just seen over here. So I always think that that's quite nice, that these animals have amazing instinctual behavior, and well, they're able to do these crazy things. I don't think I would have been able to have survived out here in the wilderness. Now, we're going to go across to Evia and say hello to him. Remember, be nice.
Good afternoon, folks. I'm FW, or Evia. I'm very happy to be here and in the company of a lovely male lion. Yeah, we came out this afternoon trying to find him again. He's fast asleep, doing what lions do best, sleeping most of the day. Afternoon, Lou. I am very happy to be back at Safari Live. It's something different to what I normally do, so yeah, very excited for the time being and for the time to spend with you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. Is there any of the viewers that can help me with our identification on this male lion? I think it's one of the Birmingham males, but yeah, I don't know these males so well. We are going to link over to James. Enjoy.
There is a pig. It's sitting in the shade with another pig somewhere around there. Or was it just a termite mine? No, there's the other pig. Two pigs, and we were having little baby pigs, which at this stage of the game look like little sausages on legs, but I think these are two young boars who've taken up sort of a life of bachelorhood. That is not a boar. That is almost certainly a sow. So perhaps just some young teenage love here, unless they're perhaps siblings as well, they could be. Enjoying the flush of the summer. It's very nice to see these pigs. When I started here, I was surprised by the lack of them and how unprepared they were to stand around us. But over the last little while, they seem to have reacted a little more, relaxed a little bit more. That nice? Just so happy to be eating all that fresh grass. And it's eating on what we call, of course, a sodic area, which is a natural sort of clearing. And they're not alone, these two pigs. They're not the only ones that like a natural clearing like this. David, it has emerged from behind its tree. And there it is. A Birtles zebra, a.k.a. the Plains zebra. And I read the other day that zebra, or a species of probably the mountain zebra, have the longest migration of any animal in Africa. And I read that on Wikipedia, which can sometimes be a little unreliable, given that, anyone can edit it. But that was then confirmed to me in Planet Earth today. And that was the 4th episode of the new Planet Earth series. And indeed it would seem so, that zebra, the humble zebra, are responsible for the longest migration in Africa. So not the wildebeest of the Serengeti, they move continuously all the time. But in fact, the longest straight line migration is by the mountain zebra in the Kalahari. And I think it's round about 260 miles, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a pretty long way. This, of course, is not a mountain zebra. It is a plain zebra, but they too are very good at going big distances. Now, you will read, of course, that the reason a wildebeest is designed the way it is, yes, I did say wildebeest, even though we're not looking at it, but the reason we see them, and often we describe their design with that sloping back and heavy shoulders, is apparently for migration, because they can move big distances. Now, I put it to you, if that is the case, why is it that the animal that migrates the furthest in this great continent is an animal with a very large backside and carrying most of its mass on that hind end rather than on its shoulders? So I'm not sure that whole argument or whole sort of factoid that's been given to countless numbers of tourists over the years who've seen wildebeest, I'm not sure that they've been told the truth. And I don't really know why it should be, therefore, that wildebeest have that sloping back. But who knows? Perhaps it's just one of the ways that helps them to migrate big distances. And as they say in the classics, David, there's more than one way to skin a cat. That is a delightful mixed metaphor. Very peaceful scene, as I said to you. I had the total feeling of serenity when we started the show, with the clouds interspersed at just the correct distances. Nice blue summer sky, perhaps some rain in the offing a little bit later on. Green grass, happy pigs. Are you able to tell a sad pig from a happy pig, David? I am not. You think you are? Oh, good. Cindy, I think you're asking about albino zebra, and do we get them here? And what would their stripes look like? Is that correct? Good. Okay, well, we'll take that as correct then. Cindy, an albino zebra, I don't know what it would look like. Of course, the skin of an albino has no pigment, and normally that of course translates to the hair, that the hair follicles would have no pigment either. So I suspect that an albino zebra would be plain white, maybe with slightly darker patches. It would be quite fascinating to see. I suspect any animal that is plain white out here, however, much like if you're a leucistic francolin, for example, we used to have one at Ngala, I think probably you'd get eaten quite soon, because it's very easy to see you at night. If you happen to be a lion and you're looking for something to eat and there's a great big beaconous white horse-like thing in front of you, I think you'd probably eat it very quickly. But I've never heard of an albino zebra. That's not to say, of course, that they don't exist. I'm always interested by how fascinated we all are with the different colours that animals come in. And clearly that animal is as well. You can see he's looking at us with his ears faced this way, listening fascinatedly to everything I say. Hassan, I think you're wondering about the tail movement there. You're saying, is moving its tail a sign of something? It's a sign of the existence of flies. So the tails of many animals out here, giraffe, wildebeest and zebra in particular, are sort of designed especially for getting rid of flies. They've got long hairs on the bottom of them, they're very strongly muscled, and they're used for swatting flies and ticks off the back end. And in fact, that hair on the back of that tail will probably reach about halfway along the belly. So yes, that's what they're for. It's not a signifier of mood all the time. So when they're standing there, rests wagging them from side to side, it's normally just that they're flicking flies. If they are alarmed, I suppose they might stick their tails out slightly, they might come out slightly. On an animal like a kudu, they will flip them up if they're alarmed. On an animal like a leopard, they will pick the tail up, and they've got that sort of white pom-pom on the end of it, and they use that white pom-pom to indicate to birds, for example, that they are not a threat in any way. So yes, in some animals, they can be used as signifiers of something. We all know, of course, dogs wag their tails when they're happy. But in a zebra, I think far more used for swatting away irritating insects than anything else. Right, let us move on from this position and continue down towards the south. Oh, now Ilana, aged 14. We're going to look at that zebra, and you say, what are the black marks there in between the zebra's legs? Now, I think we're talking about the chestnut, that thing there that it looks like it's on the knee joint, which is actually the equivalent of the wrist joint, but there it is, you can see. Lana, the only thing I can say to you is that I remember when I was a child and I used to ride horses, I think I was told once that the chestnut there is used to hold the foal's legs together when they're in the womb, to stop them kicking, to stop them doing too much damage to the mother's uterus when they're in utero or before they've been born. Now, I've never read that since hearing it. I don't know if it's true. I've asked a few times on Safari Live if any of our viewers are able to help us with the mystery of that question. So if anyone has an idea, then let us know, please. It's that dark sort of skin-coloured patch there just above the wrist joint, or what looks like a knee, on the front foot. And on a horse, that's known as the chestnut. So we'll consider that. I'm just going to listen very briefly to the loveliness of the summer afternoon. Very nice. There's a cicada calling gently off in the distance there. Thick, 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 thick. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Let's carry on. Up and over. A fairly severe road maintenance going on here at Juma. Right, let us go back to our friend Evia and his flat cat. Please be very nice to him, ask him many questions so that he might ease into his new life as a personality on the interweb.
Welcome back. Our male lion is still fast asleep. Well, we've got the screen on his nose there. If you look, it's still pink in color, which means he's not that old yet. My best guess, these guys are around 5 years old. See that pinkish color? The older they get, the darker it gets. Also quite a bit of scarring on that nose and a bit higher up. Look at that pink scar, still healing, and then under his eye there's a fresher wound, probably from a fight between other males, or even a bit of dominance fighting between the two, well, the males in their coalition. Peacefully sleeping. Good sign to look for with lions, to see if they're relaxed or not. If you look at that paw turned around and the other one on top of the other one facing down, but that's no sign of aggression. When both face down to the ground, and normally the back legs will be under the body as well and kind of facing in your direction, you'll be in a fair bit of trouble. But this guy has got no intention of doing anyone any harm anytime soon. Debbie, you are asking about a memorable lion encounter I've had. This is probably not the best story, but yeah, one of my first lion encounters I had on foot. Everyone says don't run. I ran. Yeah, we were tracking a male lion, and out of nowhere this guy just jumped up and came at us. Luckily it was still far off and the vehicle was quite close, so I got back into the car without any hassle. But yeah, not something to be proud of, and definitely a big lesson learned there, because it kept coming. He doesn't look like he's too full. Maybe later this evening he might start moving, maybe try and find his brothers or the members of his coalition, and maybe they'll see if they can't get a meal. There's not too heavy breathing, looks quite hungry. Well, not massively hungry, but it's on its way. Linda, you would like to know a little bit more about me. I grew up in the northwest province of South Africa, which is kind of west of Johannesburg, about 3 hours west of Johannesburg, on a farm. So yeah, lived outdoors all my life, haven't spent too much time in the city, which I'm quite fortunate about. I've been in the Lowveld in this region of South Africa for the last 6 years or so, guiding in different reserves, and at the moment I'm freelance guiding, so I spend a bit of time all over the place, in the Kruger National Park, in the Sabi Sands, and just the general area. Looked like there's a fly bothering him, just chasing that off. So whilst sleeping like this the whole day, with the sun out like it is now, he would have been chasing the shade a little bit. So every time the sun moved the shade as the day went on, he would have moved around this little shaded area of his and stayed nice and cool. They try and sleep as much as they can during these hot days and hot times of the day to keep their energy levels and just try and minimize using any unnecessary energy for any movement that's not needed, so that they can have everything that they do need for hunting. Milton, you are asking if he's on his own or if there's any other lions sleeping around. From what I can gather, it looks like he's on his own. He's doing his own thing. He might have split off from the coalition to maybe patrol a part of their territory that not everyone has been to in a while. There has been a little bit of rain, so marking territory would be important for these guys at the moment. So yeah, he should get together with the coalition shortly. Aaron in New Zealand, you asking about coalitions that I've spent a bit of time with. Yeah, there are two specific ones that I've had the privilege of spending some time with. The one coalition, unfortunately, they are no more. They lost their territory to two other males, and so the ones, they were called the Sand River males. They were three brothers that took over the area that I worked in a couple of years ago. Took over from another male that was called the Kruger male. They didn't spend too much time in the area. They weren't too successful. They had one set of cubs, but the cubs unfortunately didn't make it. And then two other males came in, and they're called the Charleston males. They are in the southern Sabi Sands, and at the moment they are the dominant ones. One of them is very identifiable by a canine that's loose, that's sitting loose in its lip. Yeah, beautiful male lions. They've been quite successful. I think the last update that I got from them, their pride has grown to 16 lions. It was the two of them, 5 adult females, and the rest were all cubs. So hopefully they'll keep growing and have a successful time at the reign of that area. We're going to link back to James for an update.
The update is that we've come off to the western side of Juma, found no tracks. We did see one wildebeest lonely in the distance, but it disappeared in some bush thicker than the windy impenetrable forest, so we didn't follow up on him for too long. I also saw 2 blue waxbills, which disappeared. There, David, is a lilac-breasted roller. Can you see it? It's on the edge of that tree there. There it is. Well done. Oh, he's just having a little bit of a goulard flutter, given the heat of the day. It's not very hot. It's a very pleasant day. There's no reason for him to be goulard fluttering away like he is. It's quite a nice way to view him, actually. It's very difficult for the cameraman, chaps, when there is an animal. Should I just call everybody chaps? That must never happen again. I do apologize. It's very difficult for the cameraman to get a picture of a bird against the sky like that. And so you will often see the picture kind of changing in brightness as they try and bring the subject into focus. And what happens then, of course, is that the background blows out slightly. It goes slightly overexposed. I will never call you chaps again. Sorry about that. I suppose, yes, it is better than the other term I use sometimes when I'm being a little bit angry. I use the term oaks, and it's a South Africanism. I don't know where it comes from. O-K-E-S, oaks. Oaks. No, man, don't do that. There's a gorgeous. Oh, it's gone. It was a crested barbet, and there it is. It's still there, David. And I wonder. This is a silver cluster leaf tree. And I wonder, can you see it hopping there? I wonder if this tree doesn't have a nest for one of these barbets in it. They do form holes, these trees, and we've seen, shall I back or forward?
Just draw some distance between climaxing and
Oh, right, okay. It's now starting to cool. What I'm saying is that the rollers and the starlings, they all like to spend a bit of time in these trees because they do have holes in them, and they all nest in tree holes. Sorry, I'm fumbling my words because the Game Drive channel keeps going explosion in my ear. No, you can just hear him going. But we can't see him there anymore. But he was looking so pretty, shining in the sunlight there. Okay, never mind. Let's carry on. We will maybe find another one. So tree nesting, hole nesting birds, along with the starlings, the rollers, the woodpeckers, obviously. What else nests in a tree? The hoopoes, the wood hoopoes, the hornbills, of course. All of those birds looking for hot property in tree cavities. And of course we must not forget the greatest tree cavity nester of them all, the woodland kingfisher. How on earth the number of woodland kingfishers here find tree cavities to nest in, I don't know. I wonder if that isn't one of the reasons they arrive back here relatively late. You know, they come in at around, well, this year I think it was the 20th of November, so that's pretty late. And I suspect that maybe they take that extra time because many of the tree cavities would have been vacated by woodpeckers and rollers and that sort of thing by the time November comes along, or by the time they've managed to pair off. And maybe they only sort of start breeding in the middle of December, and by then maybe the rest of them have fledged and left the holes, and there's a whole lot of vacated real estate. What do you think about that for a theory, David? Yes, I think so. It's probably utter rubbish. Distressingly, the more time I spend out here, the more time I think I've spoken utter rubbish for the last 15 years. Come up with wild suppositions of why things are going on the way they are, only to find that that really isn't why they're going on the way they are. I've just gone past Pinchy Winer's own old house, which became his grave. Pinchy Winer was a freshwater crab, for those of you who don't know. And he, unfortunately, being the only representative of his species that I knew here, was sat on by a buffalo and buried alive. Very unpleasant way to go, I imagine. Even if you are a crab without friends. Curious one. While I try and figure out what that bird is at the very top of the tree there. Can you see it, David? Well done. You say, ooh. That bird, I don't think anyone's got on their bird list. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to wait for you to tell me what it is. Hashtag SafariLIVE, questions at wildearth.tv. Tell us if that bird, whose name shall be revealed shortly, is on your bird list. That's quite special, actually. I was talking about the Cheetah Plains earlier on, this morning when we were walking around, And that's normally found in the open areas of the Gabbro Plains, that particular bird. Now, curious one, you're asking what direction I think the elephants went in. Curious one, north, south, east, west, and all variations in between. I think they've just dispersed, and they've probably, much like many of the grazing animals, have headed towards the grass plain. So this is quite a nice link to the story of this bird that we're looking at now. Down in the south of the Sabi Sand, big plains of Gabbro, this time of the year the grass is shortish, it's just coming up. It's the only time of the year, say between now and January, middle of January, that the grass is edible before it turns to straw. It gets too tall and turns to straw. And then way up north towards Satara in the Kruger Park, there are other big plains of Gabbro, also in the Manuleti. And I think you'll find that many of the elephants have gone up north or down south towards the Gabbro Plains, along with the wildebeest and the zebra and many of the other grazing animals, especially probably vast herds of beefaloes who have just got through this rather dreadful drought. That's quite a special bird. I'd be loved to know if anybody's got that on their bird list. I'm going to give you one more look at it while I look it up, just to make sure that I haven't completely misidentified the thing. UK expat, you say a pied grousel shrike, right? No. Negative, I've never heard of that bird, although it maybe just has a different name where you are. It is what I thought it is. I'm going to give you the answer. It is a shrike. Many of you guessing that it is a shrike, and absolutely it is a shrike. It is a non-breeding Palearctic migrant, which tells me that yes, it could have a different name somewhere else. It's not an uncommon bird, it's just that this is not normally found here. Close, Sarah. A lesser shrike, yes, close. There's something between lesser and shrike, though. Have a look at the colour just on the back of the head there and the wings. Yes, Aaron, it is. It's a lesser grey shrike all the way from New Zealand. Well done. It is a lesser grey shrike. How many of you have got that on your bird list? I think that's quite a nice bird to get. Well done. Well done, Aaron. Team effort there, everyone. Good job. I can't remember seeing one at Juma. I've definitely seen many down in the south of the Sabi Sant, but not many here. Right, we'll go past Treehouse Dam now and see if anything's there. Treehouse Puddle at the moment. The deluge did not materialize last night, everyone. And a great relief to us all is that Taylor was not set upon by that scorpion and removed from the earth. No. She just had to go and charge her battery. Let's go and find out how that experience was.
Don't worry, it was just the backpack battery that went flat, but myself and Brian and Herbie, well, our batteries are well charged and we're ready for a fantastic walk now. As I say that, my earpiece falls out. But we're looking at a funny little flower. It's quite pretty, don't you think? Now, this is the start of a shrub called Indigofera tinctoria, or as it's commonly known as the indigo dye plant. Now, this is one of the favorite plant species that I saw when I was up in Zambia, and it used to grow actually everywhere. It was really lovely. Now, it's actually an incredibly important flower, sort of medicinally, because it can help with a lot of things. So, something that you've seen quite often with James, the velvet ant, which he pops under the microscope every now and then. Now, we know that wasp has got a terrible sting to it. And well, if you take the leaves of this plant and you dry them and you make a powder, there's something called now I've forgotten what it's called. What did I say it was called again? Do you remember, Brian? Oh gosh, it's just slipped my mind. I've been saying this word over and over all day long. Anyway, it's got some type of an antiseptic property, and basically what it does, you can use it for the sting of the velvet ant wasp or a scorpion sting, or any stings really, and even burns, and you apply that powder straight to the wound, and well, it stops it from that burning, itching sensation. Isn't that amazing? And, well, probably wondering, why is it called indigo dye plant? Well, not only does it help with stings and all sorts of other things, is that, again, from the entire plant you can extract a lovely dark blue dye, and it was quite popular with the basket industry of dyeing baskets and of course even jeans. So that lovely dark blue color you can actually get from this plant. Isn't that amazing? Right, let me hop up now. Oh, thank goodness no scorpion. Oh, now I'm very dirty. But I suppose this sort of goes with the look, eh? We'll just keep that sand on for a little bit longer. Let's head over to these trees. Herbert said that he saw something quite interesting around here. So let's have a little squiz. Now, something that's quite interesting at the moment is all these new flowers that have popped up. They are everywhere. So we're trying to find out what everything is. Herbie, where am I looking? Where did you see them, Herbert? Under the tree. It looks like they've disappeared. Doesn't look like they're here anymore. Herbert said I think there were some grasshoppers of some kind. Oh, I saw one jump. There it is. Hiding away under these thorns. But Brian, okay, I'm not going to go too close. Can you see this one sitting on the tree? Well, look at that one. Now, of course, we've been seeing this grasshopper for quite some time, the elegant grasshopper. Isn't it just so beautiful? Did it jump away? I think it jumped away. Oh, no, here it is. Oh, it's sneaky. It's just going underneath.
There's another one here.
Oh, there we go. That's quite sitting out quite nicely. Now, obviously, it's quite difficult because these insects see us and they think that we, of course, are going to prey upon them, so they run away very, very quickly. I don't blame them. But luckily for them, I don't quite enjoy eating insects. It's not my favorite thing to do. But they're everywhere and they're growing day by day. I remember the first one we saw was probably about half the size of the one that you're looking at, and actually completely plaguing the area. And they're going to grow and grow and grow eventually until they are massive. Well, and then it's going to be really hard to avoid these guys. But they're lovely. Now, I heard Herbert calling me. He says he's found something else. He's on a roll, this man. He finds the most incredible things as we're out here on the walk. Of course, as we're looking, it's very important. I always like to just sort of kick the little shrubs over with my foot, because I don't want to touch anything with my hands first, just in case there's a scorpion or maybe a little snake hiding underneath it. And well, you wouldn't want to get stung on your finger, and that's why I always use my feet, because, well, my shoes are made of suede and it's quite tough. You'd have to have strong teeth to get through my shoes. Now, I don't quite know what Herbie was looking at over here, but we'll have a little scan. And we're still trying to actually identify this flower. Let me pick it up for you. I need to take one with me. James has looked at it as well. And well, it looks like the string of stars, but it isn't, because there's only one. And we haven't been able to find it yet. We've been looking and looking, but I know that Brent is very good when it comes to wild flowers. So we shall take it back, and I think we'll do a group effort. Perhaps even Evia might know what something like this is. He, like I said, he enjoys walking. It's one of his favorite things to do. So I reckon he's probably come across quite a few different flowers, especially when he does the big trails around the Kruger National Park. So we'll have a nice little discussion a little bit later, and hopefully by the time it's morning, we would have come to a conclusion and sorted out a couple of these things. But it's always important to take a sample with you. You can take a photo, but sometimes it's nice. They describe the texture of the leaves, and well, you can do that. You can't do that with a photo. But let's go across to James now, and he's got a tree, so we know it's not going to run away from him.
And the ambient up shot. Hey everyone. Oh, there we go. How's that? You got audio?
Yeah.
Right, I'm in a tree, clearly, obviously. This is a very large marula tree, and my heartbeat is racing. This is because I'm very high up indeed. Now, the reason I tree retrieve some lighted matches, which are a species of mistletoe that you can see in this tree around us. But most interestingly, I think that this tree has fallen foul of the mistletoe and it has been murdered. If you look around, none of the greenery on this tree, or very little of it, just a bit behind me actually, belongs to the marula. The rest belongs all to these lighted matches, and if you look around them you can see they're growing these balls from where they've infected or found purchase on the marula tree. They've drilled into it and they're basically taking all of its nutrients, and it cannot survive with them all, and I think that's probably why it's dying. Whether it'll die completely or not, I don't know, but it sacrificed this limb here that you can see. You can see that it's completely dead, and I suspect that it has sacrificed that limb. In other words, it's been unable to maintain the whole tree, and it's just kind of said, well, we'll sacrifice this one and try and maintain the integrity of the organism in so doing. Anyway, that's what's going on here. Now I'm just going to go slightly higher and hopefully not do myself a dreadful injury and fetch a little bit of lighted matches. I'm quite nervous, I cannot tell you a lie. I'm not a large man. It would be helpful to be a large man. There we go. Now, do I try and throw it to David, or shall I just know?
Yes.
You can zoom in on it, and then I'll bring it down to you. There it is. You can see why it's called lighted matches. They do go redder eventually once they've finished flowering completely. And it's this mistletoe, of course, that's also used when this flower turns to a fruit. It's used as a very kind of effective glue for catching birds. And you chew up the fruit, spit it out, it becomes like chewing gum, you wrap it around a branch, and if a bird comes to sit on that branch, it will be unable to move, and you can have bird for dinner, I suppose. Let me toss it down now, allowing for the wind that is coming from the southeast. Absolutely hope. Anyway, we saw it where it landed. I'll fetch it when I get down. Kirsten, should you wish to link away at this stage, it's probably not a bad idea. David will tell me that is going to happen.
Kirsty would like to stay, James.
Kirsty would like to stay.
Yes.
But what have I fallen? Can you see I cannot find purchase with my legs.
Are you okay, James? If there's at Buffelshoek.
If he is at Buffelshoek, we should go across to him.
Yes.
Which is quite a long drop. He's at Buffelshoek Dam. Let's go and find out how he and the Egyptian goose are doing.
So we've decided to leave that male lion on his own, fast asleep, just moving around. We're at Buffelshoek Dam at the moment. It's quite interesting to see what things are looking like after a bit of rain, and also since I've last been here. It actually looks like the water obviously dropped from the time I was here in May to what it's looking like now. But yeah, slowly but surely with the rain we've had, it's gonna start coming back. Some nice terrapins out sunning themselves, some water birds. It looks like a three-banded plover, and otherwise it's fairly quiet at the water. I was hoping to get some game, but nothing at the moment. So we carry on and see what else we can find. Chitty, you are asking if I have ever traveled outside of Africa. I have. My aunt lives in the US and I went to visit her a couple of years ago. She lives in New York City, so I had quite a rude awakening when I went to the Big Apple. It was quite a scary couple of days, the first few days, but yeah, I got used to the idea and it was a lot of fun at the end. I got to see the northern parts of America as well. We did a road trip all the way up to Maine. I don't know if I say it correct, but I went to Bar Harbor and Acadia National Park, which was quite a bit of fun. But other than that, I've traveled in Africa, but not anywhere else overseas. Last year I had the privilege of going to Rwanda to go see the gorillas, which was life-changing and yeah, just an exceptional experience. Also been to Botswana and Mozambique. Where is that hornbill? There's a horn. Oh, there it is. Still, still hiding. Lovely yellow-billed hornbill. Jumping around looking for food. Might be some termites in the area that it might be looking for. Can't really see much what it's looking at the moment. How awkward doesn't it look when they run with those short legs? Very funny stride and then funny jump. James, you are asking if I keep a bird list. I actually do. Last time I was here I didn't, because I said I was too lazy for all the paperwork. But with modern technology and birding apps on cell phones, it's made it a bit easier, and I do. I think I'm around 180 birds at the moment. I've only started in July, so slow. Oh, there, it's caught something. We saw a live kill. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, slowly but surely getting my list going. Lots to learn on birds though. I'm struggling with all those LBJs, those little brown birds, the larks and the pipits and those things. Wonder what it's gonna catch next. Alright, let's carry on. Oh, it's got something in its mouth there. Holly, you are asking what my favorite animal is. It's difficult to pick one. It's really difficult to just say there's one specific one that's my favorite. I've got a couple. I enjoy big cats. I'm very fond of black rhino. They've got beautiful attitudes. Just caught a grasshopper, locust. Awesome. Do you see how it was knocking it against the wood of the tree just to kill it before eating it? But yeah, coming back to favorite animals, big cats, black rhino. Enjoy spending time with elephants on foot. There's always nice interaction with them. Those are probably the ones that are the highest on my list, but no specific one being a outright favorite. I wonder what's going to be around the corner, what we're going to find next. There's a little mud wallow coming up. Let's see if there's anything around here. Only some old sign of, looks like elephant and maybe a couple of other guys that were rolling around and mud wallowing and throwing themselves with mud in the case of elephants. Folks, I'm going to hand you over to Taylor. She's got a nice surprise for you.
I have been talking about dung beetles all day, and it was one of my missions this afternoon to come out and find these beautiful critters, and well, here we have them rolling about a beautiful dung ball. Now, unfortunately, I can't tell you where they've got this dung from, because at the moment it looks very, very fine, so I suspect it's from one of the ruminants' dung, seeing as they do a good job at digesting their food very well. You can see the ball is a smooth consistency, besides now that it is not covered in sand. And you can see the male hard at work pushing the ball, and look what he's about to roll it past. Look at that. We're going to have a guess. What do you think those dung beetles have just rolled their pile of dung past? You remember, you can hashtag SafariLIVE with your answers on Twitter, or you can send us an email, questions@wildearth.tv. Tell us what that white thing is. Now, I really love dung beetles, and I'm wondering where these two are going to go. Perhaps they've already got an area where they've been digging, or burying, their dung balls, and the females maybe been laying some eggs already, or perhaps it's a new pair that have recently just met up. And these are the days of our lives. I'm just joking, I had to say that. And I wonder, something else I'd like to see, and I was watching a dung beetle this afternoon, and it caught my attention, is the fact that dung beetles are not the most elegant flyers. And they've got these big, beautiful wings, of course, barring the Addo flightless dung beetle. They're one of the few that don't have any wings. It feels as though I've got sand all over my face, probably from when I was laying down in the dirt, so we'll dust it off. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but so they've got these big wings. They fly around in like sort of squadrons of aeroplanes, searching for all sorts of crazy things. Of course, they're looking for dung. But haven't you noticed how they are not the most elegant flyers? I've seen them flying into vehicles that are still. I've seen them flying into trees. A tree never changes its position. Now, something that they've got to help protect them from their clumsy flying is these lovely hard outer shells. So once if they do fly into a tree, they sort of fall down onto the ground, do a little shake, well, and then off they go and they carry on with their day. I think that they are lovely, robust creatures. Now, as well as this unknown plant that I have in my hand, I've got something else. There we go. You can see it's quite beautiful. Lovely yellow little flowers on it, sort of very long, elongated leaves, and it's got a very smooth leaf as well. Doesn't really have much of a smell. Normally, the colored flowers don't smell as nice as the white flowers do. Now, this is called wild lucerne. Yes, I said it, wild lucerne. So those of you who have horses or other farm animals that perhaps you need to feed, you would know that you would have fed them something along the lines of teff, and I'm sure there's a couple of bales of lucerne in your shed or wherever you may keep all the animals' food. Now, this is a wonderful plant. Unfortunately, it doesn't have too many medicinal uses. However, it is sought out after from most of the browsers. Even something like a giraffe will scour the plains for the wild lucerne and actually feed on it. It's one of their favorite things that they're sort of treats, I suppose. Their favorite food is the acacia, but if they can find this beautiful wild lucerne, ooh, it'll put a smile on their face. But let's continue on. Where did Herbert go? We've lost him. We have to go tracking him, though unfortunately it's not the greatest soil. Now, Raisa, apparently you say that this white flower is called oleander. Did I say that correctly, Kirsty? We'll have to have a look at how it's spelled, but thank you so much. I'll do a bit more research tonight. And, we'll try. I'll get the spelling from Kirsty and we'll have a look and see if I can do a bit of research. I've got a flower book here, so maybe we'll have a look in between segments and, see if we can actually find it. But for the moment, it remains a mystery. But Raisa, thank you so much. And remember, I'm still waiting for your responses as to what we have. Should I show them, Brian, a little bit up close? Oh, wait, let's look. Let's pick it up. We didn't go far. Right, so we've got two answers. We've got Debbie and James, who think it is a tooth, and then we've got Kitty, who thinks it is a broken bone. Now, unfortunately, it's not either, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to have a closer look. So I'm going to show you the outside. I shall twist it very slowly. Look at that. It's very distinct. Think big. Now, I'm going to turn it. Jared, you champion. Well done. Jared, you've won the prize. I don't know what the prize is, but you've won it. So Jared says, is it a piece of tusk? You are quite correct. Yes, it is. It looks like it's definitely from an elephant tusk. You can see it's massive and it's heavy. I can't believe how the small little piece of ivory, most likely broken off during a fight or something along those lines, is so heavy. It probably weighs, I don't even know, maybe half a kilogram or so. But we're going to leave this out in the bush where it belongs, and hopefully it remains here for many, many years to come. But we're going to go out and look for a couple more flowers, maybe a few butterflies, and of course this white flower. Now, while we do that, let's go across to James, who's got the smallest antelope that we see in this area.
Well, indeed, the smallest antelope. There it is, everybody. And I don't remember if you were with me and Brian a little while back when we were looking at a freshly made Steenbok midden. And it was just after we had been in this area and Steenbok had run off. We didn't see it while we were live. But this is that territory. This is the owner of the territory, Mrs. Steenbok. And you can see that she is chewing her cud. Watch her mouth and her throat. She's not sure if we've seen her or not, and of course her greatest defense is to stay as still as possible. There we go. Just had a little bit of a vomit into her mouth so that she can re-chew her lunch. And also you can see that her right, our left, ear is facing backwards, so they move completely independently of each other, allowing her to listen in both directions at the same time, which of course, if you're so very tiny like this and you have not the help of mates in a herd to look out for predators, well, you need to be able to hear what's going on both sides. Isn't she lovely? I just think the colour of her there is beautiful. Now, as many of you will know, To be colorblind doesn't mean that you see in black and white, of course. It means if you're a human being, and Brent was just reminding me of this today because his father has this problem. His father is red and green colorblind. So if you're looking at a scene like that, where the animal is basically an orange color, it's brown, I suppose, but it's orangey red, and the grass around it is green, I reckon that if you are a leopard or a lion or something walking here, that's almost invisible to the eye. And it's also why apparently they don't have a strong scent, and why within the territory like this they bury their dung. And what we'd seen was that the little Steenbok had gone to the loo, as it were, made its dung pile, and then scraped up some sand to cover it. So this whole little inside of the territory is completely odorless to a predator that might come through, and I think it's quite a clever strategy. Just on that color blindness, for example, that big tree there is Scotia brachypetala, or the weeping boerbean. Weeping boerbean produces very bright red flowers, as many of you will know, and Brent was saying that his dad cannot see the flowers on a tree like that. His eyes are otherwise perfect, but he cannot see the red color on a tree like that. And to you and I, or to most people who aren't colorblind, it would look like a Christmas tree that had been lit up when it has those red flowers. So isn't that very interesting? And I think that's probably why you find, of course, so many of the antelope are that rich red-brown color, especially when they live in openish areas like this. And that is all I have to say about the Steenbok. Oh, yes, let us not forget, David, the whole reason I climbed up that ridiculous tree. Here we are. There is the lighted matches at close proximity. There we go. Very beautiful. And those are the anthers sticking out, these things here. And that's where the pollen would have been. And hopefully this one's fertilized, and it'll produce a little fruit sometime soon. Isn't that cool? There it is there. Then there was, here it is. There's a little caterpillar. A little green caterpillar. Now, it wasn't on this leaf when I picked it. I found it on the door of the vehicle, so I thought I would just sort of put one with the other and hope that they didn't mind living together, which they don't seem to be at the moment. But what's interesting, if I turn the caterpillar like that, and I mean, I've said this to you a few times, but I just find it fascinating. What you can see there in that sort of light is that the caterpillar has got 6 legs on the front, and then it's got suckers on the back. And often I don't think we remember that a caterpillar is, of course, an insect. It's going to be a butterfly, and therefore it can only have 6 legs. And the things at the back there that allow it to move in that inchworm sort of fashion are suckers. They're not legs. They're just able to sort of grip. Isn't that cool? Right, there we go. I'm going to release both back to the wilderness now. Be free. There we are. On we go. No sign of any leopards, I'm afraid. And so now we've come towards Twin Dams area to see if we can't pick up on some elephants that were seen earlier today. I'm just going to have a quick look at the actual water and then turn around and go up towards the Juma waterhole. I think these are probably the same elephants that Herbert and I and Brian were tracking this morning on our bushwalk. Not sure why we say bushwalk every time we mention the walk. It's hardly like it could be a city walk, is it? I don't see any tracks down here, but there is water a little way down here. They may have popped down here for something to drink or some mud to spray. No, I don't see any large grey creatures knocking about here. I see another impala. We might have a little look at the Hardydar nest while we're here. It's a good excuse to come down to Twin Dams. There is the impala. On his own, he's obviously not very nice, but like me. Hello, kitty, kitty, bang, bang. I do love saying that. Kitty, kitty, bang, bang. Oh, the hardy-dars are out. Can you see them? There's that stick in the way. Forward. There they are. All three of them are out. Kitty, kitty, bang, bang. You want to know if we ever see birds flying here in formation, like Canada geese fly in formation. We do. Interestingly enough, one of the close relatives of the hardy-dar, the sacred ibis, does it quite a lot. Hardy-dars fly in formation. They fly in a V quite often if there is a group of more than 2 or 3. White-faced ducks do it definitely. Yellow-billed ducks do it definitely. What else would do it? I suppose I've seen pelicans doing it. We don't get pelicans in this particular area, however. Yeah, so quite a few birds actually will fly in that very distinctive V formation. Am I correct in saying it's Canada geese rather than Canadian geese? I think I am. Much as it's not woodland kingfisher, but woodland kingfisher. Not so, David. Exactly. Now, I'm so glad all three are around, because often there's only one in view, the other's hiding under mum. How old are they now? Probably about 2 weeks, 14 days. They've got about 40 days to live in the nest before they fledge. And already the beaks are getting bigger, obviously. They're looking around much more studiously at the world around them. They're not just sort of gormlessly... Oh, look, look, look. Davy, the hornbill's come back to her nest. Can you see it there, or was the trunk in the way? Ah, she's gone. Sorry about that. There she goes. Hopefully to fetch some more food for little ones. I can hear them calling. Anyway, they're in a hole there. They are exactly in there, yes, David. Forest wanderer, you're wondering what hornbills eat. They eat anything, basically, that's smaller than them. The yellow-billed hornbill will eat things up to the size of a chameleon. I think largely this time of the year they're eating caterpillars. I've seen them bring hundreds of caterpillars back to that hole. So I think probably caterpillars most of the time, much like that hardy-dar is doing over there. Alrighty, we're going to reverse. Well, we'll just pop our heads over the top here and then we'll turn on and go back up Twin Dams Road. I thought I may have seen some grouse landing there, but no, I don't think I did. Right, nothing going on here. No spotted cat in the offing. So we'll reverse and head back. Maybe we'll find some elephant. Right, here we go. Everybody trying desperately to get to see that one male lion. It's the only thing that's been seen all afternoon in terms of the big game. So all the landowners on their Christmas holidays are giving old Mfumo quite a busy time of it. I suppose he does his upkeep, really. I mean, don't get to live in paradise for free. Right, Evia is somewhere knocking about. He wants to give you an update on what his plans are for the remainder of the day.
Severe? Hello folks. My earpiece pulled out. We're on the prowl, we're busy, we're looking for animals. Haven't found much, just a tree that crossed, well, pushed over by elephants onto the road. Nice little road blocked by the garden services. Yeah, otherwise it's been fairly quiet. Dina, you are asking if I've ever seen pangolin on drive. I have been fortunate enough to see. I've seen a couple. I haven't seen in a long time though. I haven't seen one in maybe 3 years. Yeah, almost 3 years. Nice little leopard tortoise up ahead. Quite a big one. Let's go forward a bit more. Yeah, pangolins. What an experience to see them. But yeah, unfortunately there's a lot of sad things happening with poaching of pangolins. I read something this afternoon, they say one gets killed every 8 minutes, which is horrendous for such a beautiful creature. Little guy's a bit shy, yeah? Hiding itself. It's amazing how they blend into the environment. So where does the leopard tortoise get its name from? Apparently, it's part of the little five or the small five, and that's all the small creatures that have the big five's animal names in them. In a normal situation I would pick this guy up. Although it's rained a little bit, it has been a very dry year, so I don't want to pick it up and run the risk of him having basically pushing some fluids out. It's his spare fluids that if he is in desperate need of water that he could help himself with. So yeah, we're gonna leave him, let him be. But yeah, nice sighting. Something quite interesting with leopard tortoises, they're known to eat hyena dung. It sounds a bit rough, doesn't it? But it actually works quite well. Hyenas eat a lot of bone, and in the bone there's a lot of calcium. So any calcium deficiencies and stuff that, or a need for calcium that the tortoises might have, they would get from that. Yeah, animals will eat a whole bunch of different things to get extra minerals and nutrients that they need. Some will eat dung. Sometimes young of animals would eat dung as well. Probably the mother's dung. Reason being is to get the enzymes and the bacteria and stuff needed for digestion to take place. For minerals, a lot of them would eat soil, like kudu would eat soil. We're gonna head over to Taylor, have fun.
we are looking at some of the hardest working insects in the world. And of course, these are the harvester termites, and probably my favorite species of termite. They don't make the massive mounds like the large fungus-growing termites do, but you can see they are very, very busy collecting grass, and it is so easy to identify the harvester termite mound is because, well, hopefully in a few moments, once the workers have all gone out to collect bits of grass, you'll see that they deposit all these strands of grass just on the outside of their burrow. And they drop it off, and then they go back out and collect some more. And then while they're out collecting bits of grass, you've got others who have got a different role, who take the pieces of grass, as you can see, one dropping it down, passing it on to another termite, who will then take it and, well, store it and whatever else they're going to do with it. And I just think that they're amazing creatures. Now remember, I've told you quite a few stories about the Matabele ants, my favorite species of ant. And, well, unfortunately, I've never seen them down here, but I used to see them a lot in Zambia, and I've told you so many stories about them. And this is exactly the favorite food of the Matabele ants. And like I say, they would send a scout out as the big army of Matabele ants were moving off in search of something to eat. And as soon as the scout had found an active harvester termite mound like the one that we're looking at, it would race back, and I'm pretty sure it did something along the lines of to signal to the others that, of course, he's been successful and found an active mound. Of course, they don't trumpet, because I don't think they know how to play the trumpet, but they go back, leave a pheromone trail, inform the rest of the troop, and, well, then the army march starts, and they pick up the pace and head straight towards the harvester termite mound, where it then becomes an unfortunate massacre for these harvester termites. Those Matabele ants are relentless, and they will leave no survivors of this mound, unless there are one or two that are lucky to very quickly be able to get away. Otherwise, if they're in a close radius to the entrance to their mound, well, unfortunately, they will unfortunately be chopped up and carried away back to the housing of the Matabele ants. Look at them go. But luckily for you, there are none here, so you are safe and sound. You just have to watch out, of course, for all of the different birds. Now, Evia was just telling you about tortoises and, of course, the hyena dung. Now, I don't know if you remember, I think it was a couple of afternoons ago, we had a tortoise, a leopard tortoise on Arethusa that had a white mustache. And, of course, that was because it was eating hyena dung. Now, we've actually got some right here at this mound. Should we take another look? Which piece would you like to have a look at? Brian, you tell me. This one over here? Right, let's get my stick. Now, I just don't want to stand on any of these termites. No, you can't take that big stick. Look at this one. This one wants to take that big stick away. Unfortunately, I'd like to use this when you're done. Very inconsiderate. Get off. Go and collect grass. You can't take this back with you. Don't be ridiculous. Thank you. Get my stick back. Right, let's try not squash them. Now, here we have some very old hyena dung. Oh! It is so old, it broke my stick. Right, out comes the multi-tool. That's not it. We'll have to poke and prod with this, and I think that my multi-tool should be able to do the trick. Now, it's been decaying in the sun, baking in the sun for quite some time. You can see, you can even hear, it's solid. I don't think I'd be able to break that up with my fingers. Not that you want to touch carnivore feces, but you can see how this would be such a tasty treat for something like a tortoise, to be able to get all the calcium carbonate that's left over once the hyenas have digested what they need. Look at that, isn't that amazing? And it's interesting, I wonder what else utilizes something like this that needs calcium. Well, oh, of course, giraffe, but I don't think that they would really pick up the hyena dung. They are, well, used to picking up bones and chewing on the bones. Well, enough about this hyena dung. Let's shoot back across to Evia, who's got a beautiful batelier up in a tree.
Look at that beautiful bird sitting there. A batelier. You can see there's a bit of wind around. Look at the head feathers and the feathers at the bottom on the legs fluttering about. This looks like it's a male that's perched here. If you look at the bottom of the wing, the lighter color, grayish color at the top, and then the bottom is completely dark. Females have a lighter bottom as well. This guy is probably on the scan looking for small mammals or reptiles. It's about to move around, maybe to catch some food. A bit earlier, just before you guys came over to me, he was sitting with his wings splayed out, sunning himself. I wouldn't say he was drying himself, but definitely just heating himself up a bit. Just look at those talons. Imagine being grabbed by that. See, went to the toilet there, nice. So Battalias are also known to scavenge around. If there's a kill, often you can guess there is a kill, or lions or leopard on a kill, if you see Battalia flying around or perched in trees close by, often following vultures around or in the company of vultures as well. Doing a bit of grooming, cleaning himself there. Something I find quite entertaining with Battalias is that when they fly, they always look like they're doing a balancing act with that very short tail of theirs. You can see even now with him perched like that, his wings are extending the tail by quite a bit. You can't see the tail actually. Tail with birds helps a lot with balance and movement in the air. Valeria, you're saying that this is your favorite raptor. They are quite spectacular. I mean, just by their colors and the way that they move, everything, they're quite good looking birds, and definitely a favorite of mine as well. Don't know if you saw, but when he turned his head and he went into his wing, there was a bit of a white membrane that came over his eye as he went under the wing. It's called the nictating membrane. And that protects the eye from dust, kind of keeps cleaning the eye as whenever it's needed. This guy is on a serious mission to clean himself though. There you can see it again. Maybe we can zoom in on the eye there. love the way the wind's pushing up those head feathers. It looks amazing. Almost looks like that old school bibs that the people used to wear with those little folds in them. Alright. Well, let's leave this guy in peace and carry on, see what else we can find. We're going to link over to James for an update.
The update this side is that we are going to go across to Cheetah Plains. We've had enough of this, mainly because, well, we just want a change of scenery. We'll see what's going on there. So we're driving at a relatively speedy pace. It's not to say there's anything wrong with where we are now on Juma, but, well, we haven't managed to find anything of particular note. So we're heading towards Cheetah Plains. Nice to have those bateliers. They, of course, normally live just down there. I'm not sure where FW is, but the batelier nest is just down there on Leopard Road, so perhaps he's lurking about there somewhere. It's still a gorgeous afternoon, despite the lack of big game. Beautiful clouds, and I don't think we're going to have any rain. There doesn't seem to be much great, there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of storm building up, and apparently my guess was correct. Evia is on Leopard Road. Couple of elephant tracks. We did try and find the elephant herd that Dave saw this morning. They went on a little game drive, everybody, to see what they could find, and found some elephants, but unfortunately they have moved off, and they were, the last tracks I had were heading southeast, so I think they're probably crossed out. Southwest, sorry. So we're now heading towards the far east of Juma onto Cheetah Plains. Tanis, you're in Canada and you're wondering about an animal jail. Apparently, I've never heard this before. Apparently you have an animal jail in some parts of Canada to take care of or look after the bird, not the birds, that's a bird over there, the bears that come into town and make pests of themselves, and they go to jail for a brief period. Tanis, you want to know if we have something similar here, perhaps a lion jail or something like that? Tanis, we do not. As far as I'm aware, there is no animal jails here, and, well, that's not very surprising, I suppose. But we also don't have animals that wander into towns. So yes, sometimes you might find a, I don't know, say an elephant or a lion that wanders into the villages around, that sort of surround the Western Kruger National Park. But they don't necessarily get put in jail. They normally get removed, darted and put back into the reserve. And that's normally how it's dealt with. It's quite interesting. What do they do once they're out of the jail, Tanis? Do they get fined, sent on anger management courses, perhaps? Rehabilitated with some food coupons? It's rather a good idea, really. That was a yellow-billed hornbill, by the way. I was just talking too astounded by the talk of bears in jail, or chuki, that I forgot to tell you what it was. Same bird whose nest we'd stopped at next to the Hardy-Dars. Right, and down we go, the Cheetah Cut line. To the left-hand side, a reserve called Torchwood. You can see it is unfenced from where we are now. To the right-hand side, Vuyatela or Western Gari or Juma. It seems to have about 78 different names, but we all know what we mean. And this, of course, Cheetah Plains or Cheetah Cut line, and then we'll head east towards Cheetah Plains. Even further east than we are now, David, if you can believe it. Very lovely summery feeling, and although I've been slightly sort of scathing about the amount of talk on the radio that there's been. It is always a nice time of year. It's a bit like a sleepy seaside town, like the one where my parents live. It's always a mad rush at Christmas time, and everybody comes rushing in, and it's the same here. But there's such a feeling of sort of family and camaraderie and festivity and holiday about having all the landowners here with their families, and I just think there's a lovely atmosphere around the place. And of course that's contributed to by the magnificent weather that we are having, not necessarily the magnificent sightings at this stage. I of course have to sometimes make it plain when I'm being sarcastic about these things, because I got a comment yesterday on Twitter after the school drive we did, and I forget who it was from, but she said, "Gee whiz, we've just had the school drives and James didn't make one sarcastic comment for 45 minutes," which made me think to myself, maybe I'm a little bit too sarcastic some of the time. Right, we're now at the southern boundary of Cheetah Plains. Cheetah Cutline, not Plains. And we're going to head east. Into the wind. There is quite a stiff southeaster blowing. I mentioned yesterday that that's a little bit like Cape Town. Well, a southeaster, if you ever want to experience a southeasterly wind, everyone, if ever you are confused as to what it feels like to have a southeasterly wind blowing into your face, well, Cape Town this time of the year is a great place to go and experience it. You will feel it in great and powerful strength coming in, or False Bay. Cape Townians like to tell you it doesn't blow much there. Yes, it's because it's blown their brains clean out of their skulls most of the time. I'm allowed to be rude about Cape Town because Andre is not here to defend it at the moment. Right, come on, let's find something of biological note to show you. Here we go. As I said it, the universe has provided. Let me get out of the car. Oh, gosh, a bit stiff, David. The chief engineer of me today, he said he went to town yesterday, or to tomorrow, and he said to me, "Would you like me to walk her?" For the route. Here, a beautiful flower, and this the flower called gouche. I keep forgetting the English name or the scientific name, which means that Judy H will be very cross with me, but it is gouche, and it is edible.
How is it, James?
It's edible if you're starving to death, perhaps. Otherwise, it is inedible. It is, in fact, disgusting. And then we also have the string of stars. And, I mean, I'm being slightly kind of facetious about the eating of the gouche. Most of the sort of what we call traditional spinaches here, or marojo, which is the category into which that would fall, have to be cooked for a great deal of time before they become edible at all. And Herbie actually gave me some today. It's a creeper. It grows all over the place. He said, "I want you to taste this."
Quarantine's on Cheetah Plains, right?
Good grief, quarantine on Cheetah Plains. My stiffness has left me. Let me leap into the car, David. How did you know that? Did you pick that up telepathically?
Yes, Brent just came over.
Brent came over the radio to tell us that quarantine is on Cheetah Plains. Tally-ho. Anyway, the spinach that Herbert gave me earlier today was as bitter as gall. So I think you have to get quite used to it. Okay, we're going to drive quite fast. I think we're probably going to lose signal very quickly, very soon, in which case we'll have to link to T-Bomb for an update. T-Bomb, over to you.
folks. Still busy looking for animals. Yeah, we went past Twin Dams, no activity around there. But yeah, let's see, let's keep going, let's find out what's happening out here. Woodlands kingfisher somewhere up top. It was calling that. I don't know if you heard that. Somewhere hiding here. Beautiful bird. I'm not seeing it. Oh, it might be into the bush a bit further. It's amazing with the movement of animals that we get in this area, how the dynamics keep changing constantly. It's amazing that they've got the ability to move over an area that's almost larger than Wales. It's crazy to think and put the size and the numbers into your head. Approaching a little open area here. Let's see if there's anything happening. There's an impala midden, but there's also a bit of white stuff in there. Just want to have a look with the binoculars what that is. Oh, that is centipede body segments, all dried out centipede body segments. That is most likely from an African civet that's defecated there, that's maybe using the impala midden to make himself look bigger, I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can quickly get a picture of a civet so we know what we're talking about. African civet. But yeah, they are one of the few species that actually enjoy millipedes. A lot of other things. I don't know if you can see here, but this is what the civet looks like. Beautiful creature, also quite well known in other areas of the world for the coffee that they produce. And they send the coffee beans through the digestive tract of the civet, and they've also in earlier days were used for ladies' perfumes and stuff like that. Civets are mostly active at night. You don't see, I've never seen one during the day in any case, but yeah, mostly active during the night, moving around, prowling around, looking for food, millipedes. And it's quite a wide variety of food that they eat. Something else I saw now. There's a hoopoe coming in. African hoopoe. Can go back a bit, maybe we'll see it a bit better. Oh, it's flown off again. Let's carry on, let's see what else we can find. We're going to head over to Taylor on Bushwalk.
Sorry about earlier. It was my fault that we disappeared like that. Now, like I was saying, this used to be a monster marula tree, It was absolutely massive. But unfortunately, the elephants have got to it, and it seems as though they pulled it down. But look how big the trunk is. I'm actually going to stand next to it just to show you how massive it really is. I'm going to be careful around here. I mustn't get too comfortable. But look how big it is. It's I don't think I could even hug it. Let's hug it. No. My arms, are they almost touching, Brian? Almost. I'm struggling. I can't really hug it very well. It's a very, very, very big tree. Now, even though it's dead, you'd think that it's probably useless and it's not really contributing to anything. But like I said, you got to be careful when you walk around in areas like this, because look at all the fallen pieces of bark, the fallen branches. This provides beautiful housing for a variety of different creatures, from some skinks to, I'm sure, a couple of scorpions, snakes, I have absolutely no doubt. And well, Brian, let's see if we can find this mystery millipede that we spotted just a moment ago. Oh, I've got it. Here it is. There's the mystery millipede crawling around in the shadows of a fallen branch. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? Now, it's something that we're seeing a lot of, and I love them. I think that they're such amazing little characters. And off he goes, probably looking for something to eat. We always find that the animals out here are just really eating all day long. What a wonderful life. Bye-bye, millipede. Now let's see what else we've got. I've actually spotted one of nature's beautiful patterns. Can you see all of this lovely markings on this piece of bark that's beautifully turned over for us? Now those are done by the boring beetles. They make the most incredible patterns. We can actually see some more. I'm going to jump across here. Shoop, shoop, shoop. Watch your step. Hope there's no mumbas here. And you can see again where they were boring into the wood. And you know that James has showed you a couple underneath the microscope, and you've seen they've got the most incredible mandibles. Hey, what's this? What's crawling over here? Hi, Brian, come and have a look at this little creature. It is magnificent. It's got the longest little proboscis. I don't know what it is. It almost looks like it could be an assassin of some sort. Maybe a millipede assassin. I could be mistaken. But just from looking at its general shape, that's what it sort of looks like to me. But I could be wrong, of course. So if you can maybe take a screenshot of this beautiful insect so I can have a look at it a little bit later, that would be much appreciated. You can either hashtag SafariLive on Twitter, and then I'll be able to have a look. Or, if you don't have Twitter, you can send it off to questions@wildearth.tv. And I have to say a big thank you to all of you for sending in the most incredible screenshots. It really does help us when we have to go back and, of course, identify things again that maybe we weren't able to identify beforehand. This is amazing, and I reckon I'm a bit nervous though, because I reckon there could be a couple of snakes moving around here. So I don't want to pick up too many of these logs and things in case a cobra or mamba comes sneaking out. And imagine that this would be a great area to find some rodents and things as well. So you probably find a lot of snakes hiding under there. But let's carry on. Ooh. Now, speaking about snakes, Michael, you were actually wondering if there was a possibility of seeing a rock python out on a bushwalk. And of course there is. I haven't seen anything yet, actually. I don't think I've even seen any snakes yet out on Game Drive just yet. But when I was down in the southern sand working down in that area, we used to see so many rock pythons. I think on one night I saw 6 out in the road. It was actually just after the rain, the first big downpour we'd had, and it was nice and hot and humid still, so everything was out. We saw termites and frogs and lizards, and of course 6 massive pythons. It was really, really beautiful. And well, since then I haven't really seen too many, a couple here and there, but none here just yet. That would be a really good spot for a python to sit. It'd be nice and cool if it got too hot during the day, and of course I think there'd be a lot of activity around there at night time, so it would be a good opportunity for them to stay there. Oh, look at this. This is a tiny millipede compared to the big ones we've been seeing. No, come on. Let's see if we can get it to crawl on my hand. Maybe I can pick it up. No. It's okay, little guy. He's gone into his defensive ball. But I think when you are this size, there we go, didn't stay in there for too long, you've got to be very, very cautious, of course, and, well, rather take a defensive approach than trying to be too brave. Hello, very curious. Let's see if it goes on this hand. Come on, off you go. This one is not very well coordinated just yet. Perhaps as it ages it will get a little bit better. But it's so ticklish when they crawl on your hands. This is one of my favorite things, is letting guests feel what it feels like to have a millipede walk across. You can't go inside the camera, I'm afraid. To have a millipede walk across your hand. Normally try and find bigger ones though, so you can feel it a little bit better. But that was always one of their highlights and things that they would say. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to drop you like that. My apologies, little millipede, but it seems to be okay. And, well, they're tough out here. They're tough like the dung beetles, I suppose. Let's carry on walking. Not going to pick any more up in case I drop another one. Wonderful. Now, it seems as though, as James has raced across to Cheetah Plains, he has arrived there safely. Let's go see what he's going to show you.
Right, well, we're on Cheetah Plains, everybody. The reports that quarantine was here came from 11:30 this morning, saying that he was heading south towards here, 3 in a row pan. That is his favourite marula tree, I'm told. I've never seen him in it, and I don't think he's in it right now. So he's not here right now, but we'll keep looking. We're on Cheetah Plains. It was a good excuse to come across here, not that we weren't going to come across here anyway. No, not about to drop out of the tree onto our heads. Hello Sally, you're watching this for the very first time. It's lovely to have you with us. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you for asking a question. I'm just looking to see if the suicide bird does his suicide display. Not at this stage. Sally, you say, where in the park is this, and can you have a bit of history? Of course you can. Sally, we're in the Sabi Sand, which is the western fringes of the Greater Kruger National Park. And it's a piece of land called Juma, which you may or may not have heard of. Actually, that's where Taylor and Evere are. We are actually on Cheetah Plains, which is part of the same sort of larger area. And all in all, we traverse about 10,000 acres or so, about just over 3,000 hectares. So that's where we are. And then, I mean, this whole thing started many years ago as a single JPEG, which of course is a digital photograph uploaded to the internet from a dam camera once every 30 seconds. That was way back in the early 2000s, I think it was. And Wild Earth as an entity has been going for 9 years, but we've only been doing the shows continuously like this without a break for close on 2 years. So that's what goes on here. There's a bird there going click, click, click. It's clicking its beak together. There it calls. Now watch carefully. Let's see if it does its suicide display. It's the red-crested Kohan. Sometimes banging the door makes it do its display. Sometimes banging the door just hurts my hand. That's what it did today. Anyway, let us continue. No sign of quarantine yet. So apparently he came in from just north of where we are now. That was at 11:30 this morning, though. He could easily be in southern Mala Mala by now. But we'll have a scratch around here and see what we can pick up. Tracking him, I mean, if you look at the ground here, it's extremely hard. It's sort of caked over, and so very difficult to see if he's coming along there at all. Alrighty then. I think we'll go straight down this road, and then we'll head back down towards the clearings and up and down these roads and see if he doesn't arrive. Maybe he'll be lying in a tree with something to eat. That would be very convenient of him if he would do that for us. Anyway, I'm sure there'll be something else to see here, even if we don't find quarantine. Maybe some cheetah. That would be nice. The other thing I've seen since I last saw you was one waterbuck. It ran away into the bushes, much like the wildebeest we saw earlier. But other than that, I'm afraid not a great deal to report. Still have a slightly bitter taste in my mouth from the goucher plant. It's also got hairs on it, quite spiky ones. Much worse than those on a cling peach. The other leopard I haven't seen for a very long time is Nkanyeni, of course. She is the... How old is she now? I've kind of forgotten that. I think she's 10. 10-year-old female leopard who calls this part of the world home. She also spends quite a lot of time in the Kruger Park. So she may or may not be around as well. I haven't heard from her for a long time. And no sign of Karula or Tingana or Hosana or Shongile. And Sally, as a new viewer, those are the leopards we see most often. Karula, she's our queen, 9 years old, nearly 10. No, she's not. She's 12, nearly 13. Oof, that will get one in trouble if you get that sort of thing wrong. And her two youngsters, well, they'll be 11 months old on the 2nd of January. It always feels at this time of the year like next year is, months away, even though it's only 2 weeks ago. Okay, well, rather than listening to me waffling away, Taylor has got her final goodbye to say to you. Well, not final. She's just going home now, and as the sun goes down, we'll see you on the clearings.
Look what we found hiding on a silver cluster leaf. It looks to be a little ladybug of some kind. I haven't seen one of these little critters in such a long time. I actually can't even tell you when I last saw one. And isn't it beautiful? And quite savage little things, you won't believe. Oh, what did it do there? It did something I didn't quite see. I'm trying to watch from behind the screen. It's so tiny as it crawls away. The little one, are you going to fly for us? Oh, look how beautiful it is. And off it goes. Now, I've got one last thing to show you before I have to say goodbye, before it gets a little bit too dark, is look at these incredible little flowers. Can you see them? Aren't they beautiful? Now, they look very much like the bush violets, the tiny little flowers that we see growing on the ground. They could possibly be in the same family. I think if you can do one last screenshot for me so that I can just confirm and double check, as it would be nice to put a little flower list together to see what we've got. So remember, #SafariLive if you'd like to add that to the, along with the beetle, or you can send it through to questions@wildearth.tv. And like I said, we value these screenshots that you send through to us because it really does help us in the identification process and trying to work out what new plants keep popping up each year. Now, it has been such a wonderful afternoon with you. I hope that you've enjoyed it as much as, well, the three of us out here have. It's just been really fantastic. And I think before we go, we should just look at this beautiful light coming through these marula trees. This is one of my absolute favorite things to look at in the afternoon. Isn't that incredible? And, well, I suppose it's goodbye from myself, Brian and Herbie. It's been a wonderful day. We wish you all the best, and we'll see you for the sunrise safari. But let's head across to Evia, and hopefully he'll be able to show you an African sunset this evening.
Welcome back. We are slowly heading back to that male lion we saw earlier. It's close to sunset time. Sunset means these guys might start getting active. We might get some action from him. Being alone, we might get him trying to call the others. We might get a roar or two out of him. So I think let's go make our way in that direction and just be patient. Wait for him to maybe get active and start doing something entertaining. While we're on our way there, let's go past the dam in front here, see if anything's come for a drink, and then try and find a nice spot for a sunset. There's a nice Egyptian goose. Debbie, I couldn't hear exactly what I think you said. Were asking is, what is my favorite South African word? Bird. Bird. Okay. Sure. I think I would say, I haven't seen them much, but one that really strikes me, well, the beauty is amazing, is a greater painted snipe. It is actually the first bird on my bird list as well. It was part of why I started the bird list. Seeing an amazing bird on the Letaba River on a backpack trail. There's a terrapin. Having a very lazy Saturday afternoon. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving towards that lion. Kathy in Tennessee, you're asking how often male lions scent mark and where do they mark? Well, when they move around and walking and patrolling their territory, they'll mark maybe every couple of 100 meters or so. Where I've seen them marking just on the ground and then scratching their paws in it. I've seen them spraying urine over trees, getting the scent higher up on the leaves. Yeah, and then a big and important part of scent marking, which isn't physically marking but is roaring, and normally nighttime is when they roar more than other times. During the day, not much activity, as we saw earlier. Yeah. We're going to head over to James on Cheetah Plains.
We are scanning, everybody. We are scanning what David has described as very verdantly green plains, and they are certainly verdantly green. Fortunately, there doesn't seem to be much in the way of animal life that seems impressed by that verdance. So we're doing a scan. I see 2 Egyptian geese, roughly 700 kilometers away. I do not see any cheetah. I do not see a leopard. I see a great plethora of crowned lapwings. Can you see those, David? There's a huge heap of them there. That's very unusual. There is a lot of wind, as you might be able to hear. Not much we can do about that, of course. I suppose we could blow strongly towards the southeast, but I don't think that would necessarily make a difference. That's very cool. That's a very unusually sized group of birds. Well, of crowned lapwings. I'm not really sure why there's so many there. So as you look at them, I'm just quickly scanning the rest of the clearings to see if there isn't something else lurking under a bush, stalking through the plains in a regal fashion. Oh, I've spotted some impala, David. They are even further away than those birds. They are at the very, very far northeastern end. Well spotted, David. Super zoom on the impala. It's very pleasant out here, I must say. All right, well, let's ease our way along. See what else is in here. Then we'll head towards that rather vast dam in the far northeastern side of Cheetah Plains. In fact, we might not go there. We did see a impala ewe and two babies, one of which was making an awful racket, and it looked to me like it had lost its mother. We immediately thought that quarantine might have ate its mother, but we didn't see anything around there, nor any tracks. So I'm not sure what that story was. What a stunning afternoon. It's very interesting. I think Kirsten is trying to send through a question that came through as follows. So, no, I don't really think so at all, actually. Grey Ham. Someone called Grey Ham would like to know if I think that the animals of South Africa are in a safer position than they were 30 to 40 years ago. Grey Ham? Yes, I do think that, actually. I think that legislation is such that, that's beautiful, that our animals are very well protected now. I think the National Act does a good job of it. I think, yes, certainly there could be improvements, certainly with the amount of rhino poaching that there has been around here, but I think that might be coming under control. Over the last year or so, I think we finally managed to, if not reduce the numbers, certainly sort of stabilize them. So I think that's possible. Graham, I think that's quite a nice question from you. Otherwise, yeah, I'm not really sure, Graham, other than to say, what else could I say about that? I could say that, I'm just trying to think, 30 or 40 years ago, 30 or 40 years ago, I mean, this is something you could discuss probably for some time, but 30 or 40 years ago, of course, we were in the heat of apartheid. And during the heat of apartheid, not everyone was involved in conservation, and so conservation was a particularly conflicted space. And I think now you'll find there's another lesser grey shrike on the top of that tree. I think now you'll find, Graham, that more people are invested in conservation because of the amount of work that it provides. That's not a lesser grey shrike, it's a red-backed shrike. Never mind. It's still a nice bird. So, Graham, nice question. Probably one you could debate for some time, but I think, yes, on the whole, animals better protected than they perhaps were 30 or 40 years ago. Now, the only reason I know that's a redback shrike is because, of course, I saw that it has, David, a redback. That's absolutely correct. And I'm still looking on the fringes of the clearings to see maybe the stripy, tiered face of a cheetah. But at this stage, I don't really see one. I'm very pleased to have communications back with the final control. It was a little bit awkward hearing them in sort of digital robot speak. No, I see not any predators. On we go. Well done, David, making art as always. Ooh, there's an unusual bird we don't see very often. It's a pin-tailed wider. Very nice. Very nice indeed. The pin-tailed wider, everybody. Gorgeous bird. Very aggressive. Very nasty. It will fight away any other birds. And my parents, of course, who have a bird feeder at home, well, they don't like the pin-tailed wider at all. It tends to make a big noise and chase off all the other birds that they like to see, the manakins and the white eyes and all the other things. Here it comes. And there are lots of starlings around. Suddenly, there's not starlings, swallows. Red-breasted swallows all over the place suddenly. There must be some kind of emergence of insects. Maybe termites. That's quite fun. Look at them all. They're all coming in here, Dave. See them knocking about there on the ground. Just sort of, yeah. A whole lot of them. Well done, Darwin. Following a swallow is basically the PhD of camera work. If you can do that, you can basically film anything. It's actually completely impossible. I mean, they pull G-force greater, and I mean this entirely seriously. The G-force on their bodies and their brains is higher than the G-force on a fighter pilot flying an F-16 or something like that. They change direction so fast. I suppose the uber PhD of filming would be able to follow a dragonfly. That might be even harder. You're doing very well there, David. Oh, marvellous. Very cool. All righty. On we go. As Kirsten says, David is now just showing off. Why wouldn't he? I would if I could do that. Oh, Kelly, how long have you got? You ask, why does the pin-tailed wider have such a long tail? Kelly, we think for the same reason that the peacock has such a long tail. It is an adaptation to show basically how, it's to attract females. Let me just stop up ahead here because we've got a wildebeest, and while it's just a slightly complicated story, but I think this is the correct answer. There's a wildebeest up there. We'll just get into a position where we can see him, and then I can tell Kelly why it is that the pin-tailed wider has such a long tail. Oh, a bit more of a clear... Oh, David, how's that? There he is. All right, let's see what he does. Kelly, the tail ostensibly is selected for by females. So females will go for males with slightly longer tails, and that evolutionary selective pressure has made them longer and longer over the years, in much the same way that a peacock's tail has become a totally useless flight appendage, but has become a very gaudy advertisement to the lady peacocks, otherwise known as peahens. Now, it's the same reason that the pin-tailed whiter has one, we think. What it does is that it encumbers the bird. It makes it difficult for the bird to fly. And therefore, if a male bird with that long encumbrance on its backside can survive through a summer or through a breeding season, the logic is, therefore, that it has good, strong genes that will help it to, avoid predators. It'll get through all the parasite load that it has, and basically what it means is that it's genetically strong. It's able to cope with the conditions into which it was born. And that's quite important, and so it's not just for decoration. It does actually give the females a message. They're obviously not thinking about the message at all. All they're thinking about is which male's got the longest tail and the most impressive display with that tail. But what it actually says is this male, despite the fact that he's got this ridiculous thing on his backside, which makes it difficult for him to fly, and therefore difficult to find food, and therefore difficult to fight off disease, it means that he's actually quite strong and he's got good genes, and therefore it might be a good idea to let him mate with me, and we'll have some eggies and then babies together. And that's basically why any bird has a long tail, unless it is specifically used for flight. And that one most clearly is not. In much the same way as the peacock, which goes has its long and very beautiful tail. There you are, Kelly. That is the reason. There are some impala up ahead. They're either being stalked by quarantine or quarantine is not around. Right, marvellous. Jared, you say the pin-tailed whiter was a number 187 on your list today, and maybe the lesser grey shrike was number 185. I know that a lot of you said that it was a new bird for your bird lists. The lesser grey shrike. There is a lilac-breasted roller. We're going to keep going. Just because we don't have a huge amount of time left, and I want to just cover as much of Cheetah Plains as we can. Even if there aren't any leopards on here. Of course, once I heard that he'd crossed onto this reserve at 11:30, I thought to myself, well, now we are taking pot luck. But there is not a leopard, but a black-bellied bustard, which David goes... Do you remember? No? No, it doesn't go. It goes. What? There are two people on this reserve able to do that call. Herbert is one, Brian is the other. But I think this might be a lady. It might be a female one. Let me just check the difference. It always becomes slightly difficult, because I can't remember. B for bustard. Yes, there we are. Black-bellied. Female, long and slender neck, as we know that. No, it's a male. No, could be a female. No, the female doesn't have the black on the head. Oh, he's just called. It's definitely a male. Wonderful. Sorry, I was waffling away there, looking at me app. Looking high, looking left, looking straight. For threats. You can see it's very ponderous in its movements. Now, I heard Jamie Patterson say the other day that she didn't think they were very good flyers. I have seen one of these things, and I know exactly what she means. They don't look like they can fly at all. And had I not seen what I'm going to tell you about now, I would have agreed completely wholeheartedly with her. But I have seen them escape from African hawk eagles. Now, an African hawk eagle is not called a hawk eagle for nothing. It's called a hawk eagle because it's good at catching other birds, especially birds like that which sit on the ground. When I saw one of these things take off and fly away faster than the hawk eagles could dive down onto it. So they obviously fly a lot faster than they look like they can. Now, which dam to go? Let's go this way. We'll go this way. Then we'll filter down through the next clearing and start to make our way back towards the west. Right, while we do that, Evia, which means FW by the way in Afrikaans, he would like to tell you what his plan is for the next hour.
Welcome back. We're close to that lion now. I've just got an update on the radio. He has moved a little bit, which is a good sign. So we might get a bit of movement from him a bit later on. Let me just quickly navigate here. Yeah, he's moved a little bit east away from that drainage line we were close to earlier. Let's see if we can join them. See if he's got his head up at least, or something for us to look at. What a beautiful afternoon it's turned out to be. Amazing. Not too hot, nice and comfy. Hopefully there's a bit of rain on its way, but it's cleared up quite a bit. Just gonna let this vehicle pass. Afternoon folks, how are we doing? Good man. Sure. How's it? FW, pleased to meet you. That Angola is more just at the back. Perfect, thanks man. Bye-bye. Alright, looks like we're close. I can see one of the other vehicles that's with it. Michelle, you asking when do male lions, when their manes get darker? You do get lighter colored manes as well, but it comes with age. So as they mature, it gradually goes darker and darker. I mean, a youngster of maybe a year old, it looks like a little stubble and quite fluffy, and then yeah, it just keeps growing and darkening with age. The Kruger National Park, this area, the males tend to have a little bit of a lighter color in their mane. But yeah, generally with age it comes. I'm just gonna find us a nice position here, and then let's see what he's up to. So omgaan. What are we gonna do? Let's try this. Careful. Just hold on, it might get a bit bumpy. Look at that. Let's just try and work an angle here with the sun. Oops. Look at that setting. Male lion and the sun setting in the background. Awesome. That's a beautiful view. Beautiful view. Awesome. Don't be shy. Why are you closing your eyes now? how the backlight on the mane from the sun. If I was a good photographer, I would have been taking million-dollar pictures at the moment. Just look at those eyes. When they look at you, it looks like they look straight through you. Little fire burning inside there. Sylvia, you're asking if there's any lion encounters that I remembered not to run. Yes, there's plenty that I had the privilege of viewing them on foot and didn't have to run. On some backpack trails that I did, we've had lions coming to camp at night sniffing tents, and then you learn to lay quite still. Yeah, and then other times I've had them growl at me and run at me a little bit, but all beautiful sightings without anything going wrong, luckily. But it is quite a scary feeling when you've got this beast running at you, sounding like a massive Rolls-Royce engine running off, taking off, coming at you with the speed of light. Lions move at around 22 meters a second, so you can imagine from this state that he's in now, running at you at full tilt, it happens very quickly. Oh, look at that yawn. Look at those teeth. There you can see what I'm talking about, about the eyes. Look at that. Crazy. Just look at that mark under his eye. Shame. It's not really a place he can groom himself too much to heal, so it might take a bit longer. Might get irritated by flies. Truly the king of the beasts. You can see his ears are moving, constantly scanning around, looking and listening out for his brothers, maybe to call him, try and get in contact with him again. Dan, you're asking if there are any animals that I'm a little bit nervous around. In the vehicle, I wouldn't say there are many, except for maybe a elephant bull that's in must, or a cow with a very young calf that might not be happy with your presence. On foot, it's a bit of a different story. Lone buffalo bulls, hippo out of water, hippo in water, in a year like this where water is low, shallow pools, they tend to be quite aggressive and quite possessive about the watering sources and waterholes that they do have. One thing that I believe though is not to always have fear for the animals, but rather respect. I think respect and knowing what they can and could do and treating them like that is more important than being fear. Fear is a tendency of making you do stupid things like run, like that first lion encounter I had. There we go. That's what I was looking for. awesome was that? He didn't go full out. I wonder why. I think it might have been just trying to get one of his brothers' attention. And he's scanning around, listening out. Maybe they're calling back. So it was somewhere between a roar and a contact call, in my opinion. Somewhere around us there's a black-bellied bustard calling. That cork, champagne cork being pulled out. I can't see it though, it's quite thick where we are with this line, yeah. It's amazing how quiet things get as night's setting in, and then shortly nighttime all the noises will come out. There we go. Up and at it. Time to do his thing. Let's see, maybe he'll go and mark Terji. Let's follow him for a bit, see what he gets up to. How cool was that? Hold on. Where is he going? Let's see if we can navigate through this area. Amazing colors coming through with the sunset. Oh, look at those clouds. A beautiful amber color. While I'm finding the sky again and repositioning, we're going to link back to James for an update.
Well, at least the rookies managed to find you something to look at, everybody. We have found nothing at all since I last saw you. We've come to this area because there's quite a nice view of the horizon, and we thought, gee whiz, it will be so nice to come here because, of course, the sunset is so very pretty. And then what the sun did was that it went behind a cloud, rendering the sunset really not very attractive at all. And somebody seems to put up some kind of radio mast in the way there. So basically a failure. Let me try and get some kind of view of the east-western horizon. Wonderful, isn't that, David? Ah, stunning. There we go. Well, at least you can get an idea of the orange glow there that's gone behind the clouds. A thick bank of clouds that was put there to frustrate us. It is quite pretty, isn't it, David? Yes, there we are. Good. Well, I'm quite impressed that that lion was calling at this time of the day. That's excellent. I suspect on account of the fact that it's not very hot anymore. It was never very hot today. It's perfect temperatures. Back towards Juma. There are some impala, David. Let's take what we can while we're at it. We're right close to Cheetah Plains camp. And, oh my goodness, could it possibly be a waterbuck? Please don't go anywhere. Oh, and an Egyptian goose, 3 species in one shot. Look at that. Egyptian goose, waterbuck, and urinating impala. Excellent. Now, I wanted to tell you something about a waterbuck that I learnt the other day. Oh, yes. Its name, Cobus ellipsiprimnis, is quite an interesting name. That's its zoological or Latin name. And ellipsiprimnus refers to, of course, the target on its bottom. Ooh, and there's also a nyala. There we are. Apparently our signal isn't very good, so I'm just going to stop here and I'll tell you about the ellipsiprimnus. Ellipse, of course, we know means kind of elliptical round shape, and that refers to the round shape on the waterbuck's bottom. And the primnus refers to the rear end. So ellipsiprimnus, round marked back end, basically. What an appropriate name that is. Young male nyala. More urinating female nyala. Little babies, Egyptian geese. Nice concrete plinth. Ilana, what a very, very good question from you, but I think you may have got it slightly wrong, and that's not your fault, it's probably my fault. You say, why do the impala mothers move away from the herd to give birth? I don't think it's so much that, Ilana, as it is the herd moving away from the mother that is giving birth. So, yes, she might withdraw slightly to some thick bush, but remember, the herd will then just keep going. They'll keep going to find grass to eat and do whatever it is that they have to do. And so by the time that she actually does give birth, the rest of the herd will be quite a long way from her. There's a beautiful nyala bull. You can see he's been horning the earth and picking up mud on his horns. And they often do that sort of to show how big and strong they are. So, Ilana, does that answer your question? They will certainly withdraw to try and find some kind of cover, but they don't go far away from the herd, and what you'll find is that it's the herd just carrying on with the business of the day, and the female and her baby getting left behind. There's a plane coming in, that's quite interesting. It must be the last plane of the day. Not normally allowed to sort of land at this time of the day. Oh, the lion is with a tortoise. Let's go and see what that's about.
There we go, we've got him scent marking. Did you see how he was scratching his feet and urinating on that little bush at the same time? Something interesting happened while we were following him now. He walked past 2 leopard tortoises. I wonder if those two are mating or what's happening there. Oh, nice surprise. He just sniffed at them for a bit and then moved on, carrying on with his scent marking. There he's rubbing his head through a bush as well. It's also part of his scent marking. Let's just find a way through here. We're going to be with him now. Hold on, he's roaring again. Awesome was that. I could hear that was a much louder and deeper roar. Just gonna reposition again. We are with some other vehicles, so we might have to share a bit of the view with him. We'll just leapfrog around each other and give each other a chance to have a good look at him. The setting of this lion is crazy. Colors galore and just the beauty of Africa personified almost. Just gonna get in behind here. Oh, he's disappearing. don't know how much further we're going to be able to follow him. VM, do you know how this block looks? Is he going to the dam? So maybe we should loop around and go and wait for him at the dam. Maybe he'll come through for a drink. I think it's a good option. Just hold on, it's gonna take a couple of minutes, but we'll get there. It's amazing how the excitement can change of when they start getting active. From what it was doing this afternoon, not giving us much, just sleeping, to all of this action we got in the space of minutes. It's crazy. Let's hope the action continues. So hopefully he'll come through to the dam. Seven. Vim, you think we should go in here? Okay, let's have a quick look. There's a duiker that just jumped up, running off. Shame. Probably needs a warning. It's running in the wrong direction there. At least we know he's vocal, so if we lose him, he might start roaring again and we'll be able to pick him up like that. Let's carry on. Emma, you asking about the tufts of hair on the elbows, I suppose, and the knees of the lion. That helps with protection, in my opinion. It just gives a bit of added protection together with the mane for when they're fighting. That's part of the reason why they've got that. The mane is protection against fighting, protecting the neck area. It's also to show the difference between male and female, where maybe, well, because they group animals and they're the only cats that are group animals out here, that there's a difference between the two sexes. You do, however, get females that have manes. There was a case in Botswana that a female had a mane, and also males that don't have manes. So it does happen from time to time. We're close to the dam. Let's go and stand by there and see if he comes through. While we wait and see if he comes through, we can link to James. He's back on Juma.
And back on Juma we are now. There we are. We are back on Juma, and we're going to drive the southern boundary one last time in the hopes that I will get a glimpse of Karula before I go on my Christmas holidays. Yes, I'm going on Christmas holidays tomorrow, everybody. I'll be going down to the seaside to swim in the sea, lie in the sun, read books, swim in the river, play with Fenton the dog, say hello to Snotbag, my sister. I got into trouble from a whole lot of viewers the other day for calling my sister Snotbag. She doesn't mind, I promise. Rob in Liverpool, you say, will there be a drive on Christmas Day? Rob, there most certainly will. Its quality I cannot vouch for, but there will be a drive on Christmas Day, the 25th of December. There will be unrelenting drives from here on until we probably have our final wrap party at the end of our 8-week series in February. I suspect there might be a skip to drive right at the end of that 8-week series, but otherwise, no, there will be complete drives. There will be a drive, of course, on New Year's morning, as far as I'm aware. Ooh, David. Pigs. These are the same, are they? No, they can't be the same two pigs. No, they're not. Those are two boars. You can tell he's a boar by the shape, of course, of his ears. You see that? Not really. You can tell he's a boar by his warthogs and, of course, well, if you look between his legs. Let's head straight back to Evia, who's managed to find the line again, and it's shouting.
We are back. We found the lion. He's just come through. He's sitting on the damn wall. He's just gone down. Let's just reposition the vehicle, get a nice view of him. See how his head is lifted kind of into the wind, listening and smelling, seeing if there's any reaction from the other males. He was calling as he came out, so yeah, we should get another roar from him soon. Vium, can you quickly go in on the main, on that leaf? No, it's not a leaf. It's a baby chameleon. Have you ever? I've never seen that before. How cool is that? It probably got onto the main. It probably got onto the main when it was marking and putting his face through a branch. How cool is that? Imagine having to tell that story. I hitched a ride on a male lion's mane. Shame the poor little guy must be so scared though. Flap-necked chameleon. I can't believe my eyes. I wonder if the lion knows he's there. There's another vehicle joining us. I just want to point this out to them. It is spectacular. Hey, Bishop. Wavona the main, eh? There's Mompimpa and Lumfan inside the main. Just behind the Ndleve. Boga gahle with the gogolos. That is unbelievable. Look at those little guys' eyes. Look at them. Look at the eyes moving around. Well, the one thing, it might get a bit of food there. Might be a lot of ticks and stuff inside there, so it's not a bad place to go for a ride. To think I nearly wrote that off as just a leaf being stuck in there. I think I'm out of words. That is probably one of my most memorable sightings. A chameleon on a line. Not probably, definitely. See how he's using his tail? The tail's moving around, almost holding onto some of the mane as he moves around to just give extra balance. You see, it's going darker. Look at those black spots. It might be getting annoyed. Looks like there's a tick somewhere just in front of that chameleon, just below it, behind the ear. The ear's closed it now. Drago, you are asking what would happen to the chameleon if the lion found it. I don't think it's going to be a very pretty end to the chameleon, unfortunately. I think the lion might get a massive fright if this guy walks right over onto his forehead in front of his eyes. So he might get a hard slap. But if it just falls off and the lion doesn't hear or see it, it might get away. But I don't think it's going to be the prettiest end for this poor little guy. That little chameleon catch something now. Did you see the tongue go out? I just saw some movement. Maybe it was the front leg. See how that chameleon is looking around. It almost looks like his eyes are out of its sockets. It sits on the skull itself, or further out, allowing it to have each eye have a 180-degree view around it. It's checking out the ear as the ear moved. You see the sudden movement of the ear with the male. I think he might have heard something. Might be other lions roaring far off. It's too far for us to hear, but he might have picked it up. We'll see what he does next. Back to scanning. I think what it might be hearing, it sounds like there's impala on the other side of the dam that's alarm calling. Jen, you are saying this is a once-in-a-lifetime sighting. You are absolutely right. This is incredible. It is crazy to think that this little guy got end up on the lion's mane. And just to think about all the other stuff we had earlier, the roaring and the activity, and the leopard tortoises. It's been a fun-filled activity, full afternoon for this lion. Interaction with small creatures. Normally we're all looking at lions hunting buffalo, if that's what we want. But I think this was crazier and more amazing than any of those. I'm going to just move the vehicle quickly. Well, if I move the vehicle, we're going to lose the chameleon. But to get a shot of the face, let's rather see if he turns around. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a lovely afternoon. It's been a privilege to have spent it with you. And yeah, I'm still out of words with the sighting. It has been lovely. Have a lovely evening or have a lovely day wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you in the morning again. Thank you.
Right, everybody, just a last look at the western horizon, and time for me to say it's been a wonderful year, really. I will see you, I suppose, just before the end of the year, but pretty much at the end of it. And I've had a marvellous time yet again on with you this afternoon. I do apologise for my utter incompetence at finding anything. At least the rookie Evia manages to find something for you. Also, of course, what his name really is. It's exactly the same as Wiem's. I think they're both Friedrich Wilhelm, believe it or not. Right, until next time on the 28th of December, I'm going off on holiday. I'll see you later.